Are guilt and shame keeping you stuck where you feel like you're not worthy? You're not able to make it through whatever it is that you're suffering with? I'm here to tell you that you don't have to carry this burden alone. And then 3 simple things that you can do to begin to change the entire meaning behind guilt and shame. So, step number 1 is understanding that guilt, shame, and blame are all weapons of mass destruction used internally to wage war. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but here's what I'm talking about. When I understand that guilt, shame, and blame is not from my doing, that is the darkness, that is the enemy. You can call it whatever you want, but it is a tactical solution to try to cut us off from the source, from the light, from truth, from love, from actual growth. So when I'm able to step into this and to say, oh, this is part of the human experience. This is not me bringing this on. This is a part of me that is trying to rationalize this lie. It begins to change everything. Step number 2 is understanding that grace plus truth is what equals forgiveness and growth. So most people look at truth, and that's where we think we get the guilt and shame, because we look back at our actions from the past. And now, as we step into the present, we got to experience that grace. That is where we start to forgive ourselves for whatever it was that we did. Or, and this is the very tough part, which we can get into it much deeper at a later time in longer videos, but actually forgiving the other person. And it's not for them. Some people do unforgivable acts. The forgiveness is not for them. The forgiveness is for me to let it go from my psyche of holding me down so I can continue to move forward. So of understanding it's a weapon of mass destruction, it takes forgiveness and grace to work through. And then also understanding that those two things coming together is what keeps us stuck. Now, a lot of people are preaching just positive affirmations. It's negative self-talk. It's those ants, right? The negative, the definition of ant, automatic negative thoughts. And it's kind of like, okay, that's part of the human experience. We can't control our initial thoughts. Thoughts will pop in. I know when I'm driving, I'm having a great day. Somebody cuts me off. My first thought is, oh, I hope they get in a car accident. I hope they die. Like just crazy stuff. I'm like, whoa, that's not me. So of understanding that thoughts will come and go. I don't have to attach labels or meanings to them because they're not necessarily mine to own. There's a second thought called a sponsoring thought. That's where I have control. That's where I'm able to start to direct these thoughts to say, do I want to continue to sponsor this initial thought, or are there other thoughts that may better serve me? So if you're struggling with guilt or shame, whatever's happened in the past, just remember that either A, it's not your fault, or if you feel like it is, that was a different version of you, and you did what you had to do in order to survive. And the reason why I know you did what you had to do is because it would have worked out differently if it was supposed to. This is the part that trips people up and keeps us enslaved and imprisoned in this guilt and shame, is what happened had to happen, otherwise it wouldn't have happened. Trying to argue with reality, to undo reality of something that was, it's a hopeless process. By understanding, I'm not going to argue with reality. What happened, happened. Now that I understand, I can use that as feedback and I can begin to make the changes. So the positive affirmations don't work. Otherwise, everybody nowadays would be healthy, because you see the memes and the GIFs or GIFs, whatever you want to call it. You see them all over the place. Think happy thoughts. I'm writing notes down. Put it on your board. Like it doesn't work. There's a part of the psyche that says, this is BS. What we want to do is instead, when we have these thoughts, is to actually own them, to acknowledge them, but not have them be so heavy we can observe them. And by observing, we are able to take that next step and not take 100% trying to carry it like the weight of the world on our shoulders. And we can say, guilt, shame, what is it that you're wanting to teach me? I'm no longer going to sedate. I'm no longer going to push you aside. I'm no longer going to try to reject you. I'm going to listen to you. And what's amazing is when we create the spaces where we find the grace. And so knowing that it is a process, and through going through those steps, we're able to help come out on the other side with more peace, with more progress, with more purpose. And now we can move from pain to purpose. So if this was helpful, if you liked what you heard, make sure to drop a comment below of some of the tools that you go to, that you've used that have helped, and like and subscribe for some additional ways to continue rocking it in your recovery.